You might have heard the word mindfulness a lot, but what actually does it mean? All it means really is making sure that you're really focusing on this particular moment. And a great way to do that is by focusing on your 5 different senses. So we're going to be doing that in the garden now and show how it's a really lovely way to connect to your natural space. You can also hear, probably behind us, that we're actually in a garden today that's in the middle of a town. So we've got sirens going, we can hear traffic, there's a building site just behind us, so you might get some beeping of the machinery moving around. But also amongst that, if you can really focus in, we might be able to hear some breeze flowing through the trees. It's actually just stopped raining, which is very nice, but before we were hearing a lot of pitter-patter of raindrops. So we're going to go through our 5 senses now and see what we can experience. So we're going to start with smell, and it's a lovely cold day today, which is really nice to be wrapped warm. So I can smell kind of, it's hard to explain, but like I can just smell cold. Like it's really pure and fresh. One of my favourite smells. Looking around, we've got a mahonia behind us that's just coming out in flowers, so I'm going to go and see if I can smell those flower smells. So you might be in a garden or outside somewhere where you can use your taste sense, or you might not be. But if you are, for example, we're here in the herb bed, let's see what we can find here. So first of all, next to me we've got rosemary. Now if you are eating something from your garden, just be mindful. First of all, make sure you definitely know what it is and that it's safe to eat, and also think about the location it's in. So if you're in a public place, for example, might there have been dogs around weeing on it, or just make sure it's in a clean area. So I'm confident here that this is all fine to eat, so I'm going to try this rosemary. When you're eating something mindfully, it's really good. Like when you put it in your mouth, sometimes we're in such a rush to eat and you just kind of quick chew, swallow, don't really notice, but hold it in your mouth, feel what the texture is. So with this rosemary, because I'm eating it raw, it's quite, like I can feel it's quite kind of strong, almost a little bit stalky. But actually on the underside it's a very tiny bit furry, and I can kind of feel it tickling on my tongue. And then when you're tasting those flavours, really focus which areas of your tongue are you actually tasting through. Is it on the tip of your tongue? Is it towards the back of your throat? The rosemary seems to be kind of in the middle. And then as you chew it, how does the texture change? How does the flavour change? That was lovely. Also got a little bit of mint here. So I've just got a little leaf of that. Again, I'm going to see what the texture of this is like. So this one's quite leafy. Interesting. I thought it would be quite a soft leaf, but actually it's a little bit rough. And this one's definitely sweeter. So I can kind of taste that more at the sort of towards the tip of my tongue. And it makes my mouth like a little bit tingly, which is quite nice. So there you go. When you're out and about, or even next time you're sitting down to eat something indoors, why not go through these steps and have a little experiment with mindful tasting. So we're going to move on to our next sense. amazing how many different textures you can find in a small area. So for example here, see what this beautiful tree feels like. Even just on this tree we've got these really rough areas and then some smoother bits. It's been raining as well, so this side of the tree is quite damp, but then this side of the tree feels much drier. Feeling the little twigs sprouting, quite tickly. Over here we've got a big bag of leaves. So in here it feels quite soft actually, and then the odd prickly area. And a fantastic one is this lawn area with the field of different grass. And the crunchy leaves, some of them feel quite soft and wet and others feel a bit drier and crunchier. So see what textures you can find in your little area. Thinking about our sense of sight now, and it's really helpful if you have like a little framework to think around. So if you're sat looking at a view, sometimes it's quite hard to take it all in because there's so much information there that our brains are trying to process. So you might want to focus on something that's really close to you. So for example here, I could really look down at the grass and look at the different coloured leaves and see what the patterns are. But also, one that we thought was quite nice at the moment, it's starting to get dark now, so some colours are really fading into the background and we're not really noticing them, so kind of like the browns and the greys are fading. But looking behind us, hopefully the camera can pick it up, the golden leaves are really capturing that last little bit of daylight and shining really quite brightly, which is really lovely. Some other things you could do are maybe list how many colours you can see, or look for different patterns. There's so many ideas. In another part of this module, we're going to be making frames to help you look from a different perspective to help you really focus. So that's a good one to look at for sight as well. At the start of the video, I mentioned the different sounds we could already hear being in a bit more of an urban environment, but a great way to focus on different sounds in your little area is maybe thinking about the sounds that your body's making as you're moving through the space. So for example here we've got a great crunchy leaf and there's a few twigs under here crunching underfoot. Maybe as you brush past the trees and the leaves, maybe even just the sound of your own breath. If you're walking quite fast through somewhere, are you breathing heavier? Are you breathing differently because it's a little bit cold? Are you sniffing a lot if your nose has got cold? You can just hear the breeze coming through the leaves now. And actually, as that breeze drifts across my own face and kind of past my ears, I can actually just hear the breeze in its own right. So there we go. There's some ideas for you to try to experience your little nature area with your own senses. By no means is that all you can do, so come up with your own ideas as well, and just take a little bit of time for you to really connect with the outside world.